All right, so the big writing assignment that you guys are going to have for this unit is going to be a short essay about the story and occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge. So I'm just going to show you right now. I'm on our Google Classroom page, and it should be the first thing that'll pop up in your stream when it posts. But otherwise, it's under the classwork tab in the Civil War unit. So basically, there's an instruction sheet that I attached. So if you're totally lost, this is where you start. And then you need to type your actual essay on the blank Google Doc that I gave you. And part of that is because I did some of the legwork for you and putting a header and a heading and a title on there. Just as a note, the plagiarism check is on, so it'll check what you write with the internet and with other people's Google Drives. So I'm just looking for you to do your own writing, is basically what I'm trying to say. So if you open up the first thing on here, which is the actual writing assignment, if you did the guided notes and you paid attention to the story, then this writing prompt isn't too hard. Basically, you're going to put into essay format the question that I asked you to do on your note sheet, which is, how does the author use foreshadowing to preview the surprise ending of the story? The surprise ending being none of that happens. He's actually dead. So you have to use three different examples. So you're going to have three body paragraphs. You're going to have an introduction and a conclusion. In each of your body paragraphs, you need to have one quote, and you will need to ice your quote. What that means, most of you have done this before, it means you introduce your quote by telling me what's going on in the situation and the story where you get your quote. You actually cite it by putting quotation marks around it and putting the page number. The page number should be the book page number, right? So if I go back here, the book page number, the story is in the 300s. So all of your quotes should be based on the textbook. And then you also have to have the author's last name in your citations. So this is by Ambrose Bierce. So it'll be like Bierce 381 for your quote. The most important part is actually where you explain why your quote is an example of foreshadowing. So if you give me a quote about Farquhar noticed the green prism colors on the grass, this is an example of foreshadowing. Well, you have to explain why. This is foreshadowing because somebody that just almost died probably wouldn't be conscious enough or focusing on the beautiful scenery around him as much as he would be focusing on trying not to get killed. So that's kind of what I'm looking for in your essay. So the prompt is in the box. Steps to take to write the essay. The most important sentence is your thesis. So I have a little example here for you. Your thesis is always title, author, and then your answer to the prompt. So going back to an example from first semester, in The Devil and Tom Walker, Washington Irving uses indirect characterization to illustrate the greed of Tom Walker and his wife. So your thesis is always an argument. In this story, you're going to basically just say, in an occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge by Ambrose Bierce, he uses foreshadowing in order to hint at the surprise ending of the short story. So that's your argument. So you're going to prove that he uses foreshadowing to kind of hint to us the ending. The next step you're going to take is to write your introduction. You need to have some kind of a hook, an attention getter. Don't put something stupid like, have you ever imagined your own death? Have you ever been to Owl Creek Bridge? You want to use something that's a stronger lead in. And one of the reasons why we're doing this writing is because we are getting ready for the SAT essay that you will all write in April. You need to have a few sentences of background, meaning this story is about a Civil War man who makes a mistake and is caught in the act. And then your thesis. If you decide to outline the essay beforehand on some scratch paper or on the actual document, that's okay. But your basic format of each of your three body paragraphs is going to be, the first example of foreshadowing happens in part whatever, and then give an introduction to your quote, give a citation to your quote, so actually use the quote, and then explain it. And you'll do that for two or three body paragraphs, and then a short conclusion that basically wraps up and lets me know, I don't know, do you think he did a good job foreshadowing? Did you notice the ending coming? So just a way to kind of wrap this up. And then Finally, you're going to turn this in on Google Classroom, and then here's the rubric in case you wanted to know where to focus. Important part to note is that you're only being graded on 3 different things. Your thesis, so you have 10 points on the line for a thesis, so make sure your thesis is a good one. That introductory paragraph should be strong. You're getting 30 points for how you support whatever your thesis is, which everyone should have the same thesis. He foreshadows the ending of the story. So I'm looking to see that not only do you have 3 quotes for minimum, but you also explain it. Now, just because ICE, the acronym we use, is 3 letters, that doesn't mean that each body paragraph is 3 sentences. Your explanation, where you explain the foreshadowing, should be more than 1 sentence. Otherwise, you're probably not going to do a great job, we'll say, and get this exceptional. And then finally, style and conventions. You guys can even see on my paper here, I've got these underlined things that are telling me I've got problems with this. All right, so that should be capitalized. If you're going to get a good grade on this part, you really should make sure that you are going through and you're using the language tool that is automatic on all of your Google Docs. Okay, so no slang, no shoulda, coulda, woulda, no she's a hoe, he's a hoe, whatever. You're just making a good piece of writing. This should be like the example of your best writing that you can produce. So this is where you're going to be typing your essay. Obviously, you need to change your name because that should say your full name. Obviously, this is your last name, and the page number will change if you have more than 1 page. You need to add today's date, tomorrow's date, whatever, and then you start typing here. So it's already set up to be double spaced for you. Okay, now because some of you are going to want it, this is an example of one essay, just so that you can see. All right, this was a pretty good essay. It goes a little bit over a page. So first, just look at the intro. When one is facing death, one tries everything he can to avoid it. Great, there's a hook. No young person with a family wants to die. They want to live in love. In this Civil War story, a Confederate spy is caught by federal troops. There's my summary sentence. Very nice. The federal troops are about to hang him off of Owl Creek Bridge. In the story, The Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge by Ambrose Bierce, evidence is given throughout the story that Peyton Farquhar is dying, not escaping his captors. Awesome thesis statement. This would get a 10 out of 10. So now we can see this person has 3 body paragraphs, 1, 2, 3. And this, I would say the body paragraphs are a little short because there's not a ton of explanation afterwards. All right, but we'll just look at the first one. As he falls downward through the bridge with the noose around his neck, he loses consciousness, but in those seconds, he thinks he's alive, just having problems breathing. So the quote this person uses, that was the introducing it, is, as to his head, he was conscious of nothing but a feeling of fullness and congestion. So technically, if this was going to be a correct one, we would say that he has the author's last name in there. So it should say Bierce 379. That's how your citation should look, part of the sentence, but not part of the quote. And then this person only has 1 example or 1 explanation. He wants to live, so he imagines he's alive, just having problems getting his breath. But in reality, he's on the verge of choking to death. If this were going to be really good, we would say this foreshadows the end because he is actually dying, which is why he cannot catch his breath. All right, so you have to have something in there that ties it to the fact of this shows that it's foreshadowing, right? Because that makes it a successful body paragraph. So we've got 3 body paragraphs, and then we look at the end. This is a little bit longer conclusion, but Peyton Farquhar is avoiding death by imagining he has escaped. In reality, he has been hung and is in the act of dying. When he is first hung, he believes he's congested. Later, he knows he's swinging from the noose. By the end, he's in denial that he believes he's back home. All people would prefer to escape death when looking it in the eye, but in reality, sometimes it is inescapable. So what this person did for the conclusion is they summarized the 3 body paragraphs. You don't have to do that. I would be okay with this if they didn't have any of that and they just had the last concluding sentence. So you can have a 1-sentence conclusion. All people would prefer to escape death when looking it in the eye. So that's what you guys are going to be working on. Email me if you have any questions, and you will see this posted on Google Classroom. Well, obviously you're seeing it because you're watching this video, hopefully. But 50 points due on Monday. So make sure you use Today to Work and All Day Friday.